Yeah, the recording has started. Live streaming is about to start. I'll start letting people in then.
ठीक है.
Okay, okay, let's begin then. Admit all. Yeah, the recording has started. Live streaming is about to start. I'll start letting people in then.
Awesome. Hello, everyone. As usual, we'll wait for a couple of minutes and then get started. So today I'm not sharing my screen, it's Ram. So as a result, you'll see me perhaps in a slightly different way on screen. I actually don't know what I sound or look like when I'm speaking right now. Thank you for being patient. So today, I'm just going to talk a little bit while we're waiting for people to enter. So today we have a slightly different model from the previous sessions. So there is no real presentation. We're going to just take you through this sensome exercise. And it's for most people, in fact, I would imagine for everyone actually in this call, it will be a situation that you're all familiar with. And so this is a way to just get us all into one space, one joint space of reflection and imagination, and we'll see where we go with it. I'm going to wait for just a minute or so. Looks like people are coming in fast, so don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves by starting before a few more people show up. Meanwhile, use the chat window if you want to say hello or share how you're feeling or anything that you may want to do. You can troll someone if you feel like it, but then we'll kick you out. No, just kidding. Okay, so now we're ready to start. Ram, can we get to the next slide? So today's exercise is what we call Sensome. It's a tool that we are developing internally inside Socrates, sort of a tool for collective wisdom. And what the purpose of this tool is to sort of give a visceral sense of the world that you want to create in the future. So almost everyone, in fact, I would be surprised if there's anyone in this virtual space who hasn't experienced a traffic jam, right? And in fact, I think everybody is an urban person in this room. So what the Sensome is designed to evoke is a kind of a before and after scenario of what life in an Indian city might feel like if we were to design our cities more generally for sustainability and specifically, of course, with climate change concerns in mind. So can we reimagine transportation in our cities? So this is a video that, so here's how we're going to do it. We, at some point, will have a web-based interface, but today we are doing it low tech. It's based on a 3D imagination that that we are prototyping. So I'm going to introduce what is going to happen, and then we'll get started. So we'll be showing you a video. There'll be some voiceover by me, but sort of pretty light. And the idea is that whenever we pause, I'll just invite you to share your thoughts as chat window comments, right? And the goal of that is to just get everybody to sort of be in the same visual space together. And during the breakout, there will be specific questions for you to address. And there's a Google Doc ready for you, the note taker, to enter those. Okay, so Ram, let's get started. And please turn your audio on. So this Sensome was created by Alok and Ram and others. So I want to thank them for doing so. It's a way to reimagine urban mobility and basically what to do about traffic in Indian cities. So this is Rahul Sharma. Like many of you, he's stuck in traffic and he's not very happy about it. This is probably a situation that most of you have experienced at some point or the other. So you can see how sidewalks are used as two-wheeler lanes. This is Salma. So Salma is from a different socioeconomic category, as you might imagine, and she has to travel quite a ways to get to work as a home-based employee. And that's Alphonse, and a retired gentleman who has to walk from place A to B, and of course finds that harrowing. And meanwhile, in the neighborhood, that is another situation. So that's again Rahul Sharma. He's very happy that he found a parking spot, blocking all kinds of other people in doing so. Behind him is Alphonse again, who is on the way to the main highway. Right. So think about this as New Friends Colony or something in Delhi, if you're a Delhi person. And that's Salma again with the children that she takes care of. And that's a municipal councillor. We call him Wagliji. Right? He's inaugurating some. Welcome. And behind Wagliji is some road work. Right, so it took 60 years for India to cross the 100 million mark, and then another 100 million in a mere 6 years. And so this is sort of the world that we are in today. So can we pause here, Ram, for a sec? So what I suggest is all of you, so what I want to evoke right now is not your analytic thoughts, but the feelings that you are having in your head as you sort of put yourself in this space. What are you feeling? Can we have some contributions in the chat window, right? So put yourself in Rahul Sharma or Mr. Alphonse or Salma or Vagleji's head and tell us how you're feeling. All right. Shashank says stress of daily commute. Rajan says persecuted. Aviraj. All right. Awesome. Alphonse. Okay. Randomness. I like that term. Okay. Irritating. Great. Silk board. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. I feel like Jayanagar Silk board is one of the probably the most congested traffic junctions in the world, perhaps. Okay. Great. Thank you so much for sharing. So now we can start again. Oh, is that? Oh. Yeah. What happened there?
Apologies. I think this is messing up with this thing. I'll just.
No worries. It's a short video, so we can just wait for it to scroll through if needed. Okay, that's again Rahul again, Sharma again. He's honking, you know. So the auto industry is actually a huge part of India's GDP, and it directly employs 8 million people. And if you look at the total number of other people supported by it, it's around 40 million. So any transformation of the auto industry will impact lots of people. Now, imagine a better world that we have entered. Ram, if you can go to full screen, that would be great.
It reloads the video. Sorry.
That's okay. So we'll just play it, no?
Okay.
We'll just 1 minute. So we are back to the beginning. It feels like Groundhog Day, but only 1 minute at a time. It's not so bad. Oh, if you haven't, like I'm dating myself, but if you haven't seen Groundhog Day, but you know, just do it now. It's a fantastic movie. All right, so we are in Salma's commute again. Alphonse braving the highway. And now we are in New Friends Colony or Koramangala, First Main or something like that. Okay, that's Alphonse again. Salma. Wagle ji.
Let's see if we can match that. Let's see what's on here. Come on. Well, come on. There you go.
So that's where we are at, doubling the number of cars on the street, and hopefully we can imagine a better future. So we're going to give you a brief glimpse of that better future in a minute, actually in a few seconds. But let's keep in mind that any imagination of that better future will have some winners and some losers, right? And in India and throughout the world, the automotive industry is a huge employer. Especially if you include all the way to people who drive, who are drivers, who are, So in this better future, we of course have, bus lanes and bike lanes. We have electric three-wheeler transport so that even Salma is going from A to B on paratransit that is, that's really geared for citizens rather than for the rich. Okay, so that's an imagination that you can imagine. So bus commuters spend 21% of their earnings on commuting, right? And garment factory workers usually can't afford the kind of public transport that we have. But hopefully, someone like Alphonse will find it much easier to cross the kind of road that he's on right now, which is well organized. And so these are just some data points about the kind of traffic we have, but you can see again that you can make traffic flow in somewhat more organized ways. So in reordering, Indian city traffic, it's both how the traffic flows, what kind of vehicles are in it. Rahul Sharma is now switching to bikes, right? I actually used to bike on Ring Road as a kid. And now Mr. Wagle is inaugurating some very nice climate smart parking. And we can now sit here and enjoy this nice scene in front of us. So that's where we are at. Now tell me what you are feeling. And then we'll go to the breakout session. So in the, relaxed and peaceful, good, hopeful. Justice, great. Unreal, will it happen in my lifetime? You have to make it happen, I hope. Bored, no street hawkers. Yeah, it does have a very Western feel. So that's so that's a very important point, I think. Okay, more time outdoors. Yeah. Yeah, that Church Street definitely has, changed. More pedestrian friendly. Okay, less pollution. No crackers, maybe. So great. So thank you for sharing sort of your feelings. So it was very important for us to evoke sort of the feel, Denmark vibes. I have to say, I'm not sure if I want India to be Denmark, but hopefully there is a version to be Denmark without being Denmark. Where's the wavy motocross lane? So now we're going to go into the breakout session. Can we go back to the slideshow? Yeah, so this is a more larger breakout rooms than before. We're going to give you 40 minutes instead of the usual 30 minutes. so that everybody gets to speak. As usual, there should be a note taker, so the rules remain the same. Ram, if you can post the link to the Google Doc. Thank you. So that is the Google Doc that the note takers can, and anyone else for that matter, can use to enter the thoughts in the breakout rooms. Each breakout room has a key question. So can we go through those, please? So next slide. So breakout room number 1, right? What does the EV transition? So what does the electric vehicle transition look like in 5 years? So again, remember that Salma was going on an electric auto. So what kind of electric transportation future might you be able to see in 5 years, and how will we achieve this transition? So that's the question for breakout room number 1. Next slide, please. So the second is, what will public transport look like in 5 years? So again, take a look at that. So each, by the way, the Google Doc has your room's question on top of the slot for that room. So don't worry if you don't see this when you enter the room. Okay, so what does public transport look like for breakout room number 2? Yep, that we're all set. And how will you achieve this transition? Then number 3 is, what will our roads look like in 5 years? Again, Tarini said that there are no hawkers, but maybe we want hawkers. So how will that be achieved? How will we look at both the roads and the sidewalks and the street side in 5 years? Okay, and last is room number 4, right? Which is the political economy question and the finance question. How are we going to pay for all of it at the local, state, national levels, perhaps international financing? So how are we going to achieve how are we going to actually pay, and what is the economic basis for this transition? So these are the 4 questions. We are now ready to go into 4 breakout rooms. And then we'll be back in 40 minutes. So this is actually the most, you could say, technically complex challenge that you guys have faced in this course. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what comes up in this collective thinking. Vivek, we can shift to the breakout rooms. I hope there are only 4 breakout rooms. I feel like there are more than 4.
There are 8. I thought like we have 40
No,
people.
no, no, no.
So
We were going to do only 4. That was the whole idea. There are 4 questions and 4 rooms.
okay, I thought that we'll have. I think we discussed. Okay, I thought we'll be repeating the prompts. Okay, so should I reallocate people to those 4 rooms then? Okay,
No, it's too late. So we should just say.
And I think that would be the better choice then. But I'll move people from, let's say, room 8, 7, 6, and 5 into 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay.
Okay. How do I do that in bulk? Okay, I'll go to these breakout rooms once, and then I'll do that.
Yeah, we're getting in Slack some. Hi, Srichand. Maybe you can just use the chat window if you can hear me. Vivek, can you make Srichand into a, yeah, exactly.
Hello. Guys, were you able to find your breakout rooms, or should I move you to some other breakout room manually?
Everyone here right now is someone who joined late, I think.
Okay. Then let's stay here. Then otherwise the whole flow will get disturbed. Okay, good.
No, you can
So
just assign people. I mean, we still have a full 26 minutes left, so might as well assign.
Okay, then I'll do that. I'll move. Guys, are you okay with that? Should I move you into one of the breakout rooms?
Just do it.
Okay, I'll do that. So yeah.
All right, we are back. Everybody knows the drill. And the good news is that this time, because we have only 4 groups and we have almost half an hour, there is more time. And I mean, by design, we wanted more detailed presentations and ideas. So what I suggest is we start with group 1, and the note taker can share their thoughts for a couple of minutes. Since the groups are large, maybe there will be other people who will have things to say, and then we'll go on to the next group. So who's on? Whoever it is needs to unmute themselves, and we need to start the recording. Not allowed to unmute. Okay. I think we need to change that as well.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that work?
Yeah. So hi, I'm Sambhavna. I am the note taker for Group 1. We've been discussing about how the EV transition is going to look like in the next 5 years. Some of the ideas that we've been discussing are around, adding solar panels on the vehicles. So, for example, how do we actually get the energy for these vehicles? So, can we add solar panels on the vehicles, or can we, add solar panels on the roofs of the buildings or community grids, so that this energy can either be used by the community and the extra ones can be used to fuel the vehicles. The other sort of wanky idea was around travel. How can travel generate more energy? So let's say travel generate more energy, and also like when we are traveling from one place to another, can that be automated using AI, which is already being done, so that the traffic is distributed and people are not stuck in traffics. The other idea was also around the composition of the EVs itself. Can the EVs be made with certain metals that reduce our carbon footprint? We also discussed about how do we actually make it easier for people to start buying EVs. One of the ways is about how to handle breakdowns. Can we encourage people to repair it themselves? And then we also discussed that there are some companies like Ether Energy who have started doing it, and this could be something that we can look at in the coming future. We also discussed about how to handle battery waste, if it can be disposed of at all, or we can look at current landfills. Also, discussion was around the skill sets of people who are working in this sector. If we are looking at EVs being used at a much larger scale, people need to migrate. People need to start thinking about their skill sets to adapt to this change. So how are we going to actually train people on these new skill sets? We again, about cost effectiveness was something that we discussed. What kind of material are we using? Can we give people subsidy to actually start using the EVs? The other point was also about rentals. So let's say if people, can the government sort of have these EVs in the cities, and there is a rental sort of a thing where people are not really owning it, but they get the experience of traveling in an EV and start getting used to the idea. There was a discussion that Ola, Uber have already started doing it, so maybe this is something that can be done in the coming future. Apart from that, there was discussion around replacing parts of the old car with better materials that can consume less energy, or we can ask people to give us their old vehicle and we will break it down into different parts, and the person can get a discount if they want to buy an EV for themselves. So these were some of the thoughts, but I would also ask my team members to please pitch in if I may have missed some points.
I think you covered it all.
So my big worry about EVs, by the way, thank you for this really detailed set of ideas. So my big worry about EVs is that, we'll just start filling the planet with EVs rather than with gasoline powered vehicles. And so recycling, and I'm wondering if, especially in India, which has a culture of reuse, what would it take to switch out a petroleum powered engine for an electric vehicle? I think that's a hard problem, but I'm wondering if that's a potential growth industry in a place like India. Right? The transmission, many of the things are different, so it may not be possible, but I would certainly love to think about that. And of course, the big question is battery. I think that, and batteries and source of EV energy. Especially if you're going to burn coal to create electric grids, then not sure if that's such a great idea either. So we have to really think about how to bring EVs in a thoughtful way. So some Bhavna, and again, if you guys have any other things to add, just put it in there or say it out loud. Love these thoughts.
So we were thinking, we did have a discussion around this point. And one of the thoughts was around using solar energy to sort of fuel this. But that is one idea that we came up with. That not very sure how sustainable that is because it has its own challenges. But you have a very valid point here. Anyone else from my team would like to add here?
Rajesh, just to add to that point of yours of your electric vehicles are either way run on coals, right? Coal-powered generation. I was actually doing an analysis about 2 months ago to figure out how green is your electric vehicle, because your source is eventually coming from coal power plants. So that's when the thing is you can actually do an analysis on the states where electric vehicles can be first pushed in, which already have massive amount of their power generation from renewable energy, like Karnataka. Karnataka is sort of going a little above 30%, I assume, towards solar energy. And so I think that transition can happen based on this survey where you see which states already have renewable energy, and that's where you launch your electric vehicles first, or you start building your infrastructure for electric vehicles first, and then you move down to other states where coal is still being used.
Awesome, great. Yeah, I would love to. If you've done a study or if there's anything written up, I would love to see.
Yeah, I'll send it across sometime. Yeah.
We also discussed using them primarily for public transport versus like shifting the balance from personal vehicles to public transport.
Yeah. Great. All right. We are now at group 2.
Rajesh, there was actually, I think, a bit of a confusion. So there's actually a second group 1.
I see. Okay. Go for it then.
We've shared our notes below. I think pretty much similar points. I won't take too long, and maybe if people want to add on, they can. So in terms of, I think we just had a kind of an open discussion. So there were points on what does this look like, and then how will we kind of achieve it. What does it look like? I think there was a focus on kind of multimodal forms of transport that work in tandem with each other, and also kind of EVs. So you're getting off your EV scooter, getting into possibly an EV ride-sharing car, which takes you somewhere, and that all works in tandem with some tech. And without the stipulations of time, more focus on convenience. So it's not like this train or this bus only comes at this point and then you have to wait. There was also a point on how we use roads, so arterial roads versus local roads, and who actually gets the say. So if we can actually get local governance to or local governments to decide on how their road should look. So a Kormangla road can look different from an HSR road because folks in HSR said, hey, we're going to prioritize pedestrians and cyclists. So we want to reduce the motorized transport. So that was a point on how roads look. And yeah, we were also talking about how will we reimagine the role of the petrol pumps. So what will a petrol pump look like? Will it just be kind of a battery where you come in and drop off your battery and pick up a fully recharged battery? And well, I mean, petrol pumps are so kind of ominous now. How will they look like in the future? There was a point around domestic manufacturing kind of taking off as well. Can we incentivize domestic EV manufacturing? There was also a point on smart lighting and smart kind of solar powered street lights, which make even again the traffic kind of system a lot more efficient. That's what we said it will kind of look like. And again, I guess this was just like broader vision. I don't think it was specifically in 5 years. In terms of how do we achieve it, we basically had a few points. One is you incentivize EVs and you decentivize internal combustion. That was incentivizing EVs, working with automakers and workers, and ensuring there's kind of a just transition for them. There's infrastructure for EVs, subsidizing, giving tax credits for the masses to, again, pick up EVs. Again, there was an interesting point on how can the government actually become kind of generate enough demand to make EVs a lot more cheaper and accessible to other people. How will banks and finance actually work? There was an interesting point about how banks would not want to finance EVs because their internal combustion cars will actually, the EMIs on that will take a hit if everyone's moving to EVs. So how will the banks and finance industry also want to work on this? And finally, I think the startups and the role they will have. So again, we talked about, investing in actually R&D for more sustainable, efficient batteries, where they're sourced from, even possibly going, backwards into the supply chain and making mining more efficient for these batteries is a possible thought. And then obviously the recycling, we just are putting loads of other cars there. How will we recycle that? I think decentivize internal combustion, again, carbon import or congestion taxes to, again, target consumers who are on the using kind of internal combustion engines. Then there was also the point on retrofitting internal combustion vehicles because they'll still be riding around. And I think finally, last 2 points on where's the source of the energy coming from, because that still needs to be kind of renewable or more sustainable. Otherwise, we're just actually generating more electricity demand, which will, cause more kind of coal fired plants and just creating other problems. And I think finally, like the accessibility point, can we actually solve some of the equity and safety challenges with the existing system when we make this transition? So making it a little more just. So yeah, that was from our group. I've shared the points on the doc as well. If anybody else wants to add to that.
Thanks, Jay. If any other contributions from this group, please go ahead. So one, Jay, you pointed out like different neighborhoods or different wards even might go in different directions. I feel one of the things that seems to be very underexplored is the kind of the governance structures around this EV transition, right? Which is how are we going to imagine urban politics, urban governance differently when there's an energy transition as well. So, I mean, I don't have any specific thoughts there, but I think it would be great for us to imagine those futures too.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. I think again, because you were even saying the auto industry has a huge lobby, and then the workers, the indirect and direct workers, and the unions as well. So there is a lot of kind of push or lobby on the government to keep it this way, and it seems like that has been true in other ways where we're trying to transition, but it just doesn't work for the people who are in the existing system. So yeah, important to think about.
Thanks, Jay. So I should also point out that there are some pretty interesting conversations happening in the chat, in the comments section. So feel free to keep an eye out for what there and participate in those comments too. So we will now move to group 3 or group 2, I forgot, whatever the right number is.
Hi, this is Abhay. I was the note taker for breakout room 6, which was group 2 on the sheet. We had Jayashri, Stuti, Ram Shreyas, Anusha, Suparna, Arnab, Eunice, Sonali, and Kaustubh in the group. We spent about 20 to 25 minutes talking about what will public transport look like in 5 years, and about 15 minutes talking about how will the transition occur. A lot of great points that came up from folks within the group. If I may just sort of attempt to synthesize them, a number of points on how public transport will see a lot of cool technology in 5 years. So artificial intelligence, cloud-based grids, which self-driving vehicles are connected to, a lot of automation in general, and use of smart tech for mobility and sort of large-scale learning that is connected between vehicles, geographies, etc. Underground public transport becoming more likely, clean energy, possibly drones, particularly in the delivery space, and overall a lot more capacity. Then a transition in behavior is likely from private vehicles to public transport, and a transition to electric vehicles could well become the rage. The shape of the urban form itself is likely to see significant changes. Ideas of transit-oriented development, clustering of work, market, leisure, greater non-motorized transport infrastructure, some unanswered questions on what is the fate of the trees going to be in this world. The market in general will see a lot more clean mobility solutions and increasing consumers. On access and pricing, we were not fully in unison in our voice. Some folks were of the opinion that things will, like London, there will be lots of options, but it could also become more expensive and therefore unaffordable for some. Some of the more utopian dreamers were thinking about the possibility of free and accessible public transport. And finally, I think in general, I sensed two kinds of, one a realistic approach and one a more utopian approach. And so there were also questions raised about is the public transport we are imagining going to be really transformative in a systemic sense? Even are electric vehicles really clean energy in the Indian context? And where will the real disruption come from? In terms of how the transition will occur, a number of market-based triggers. One, carpooling will become a culturally cool thing, and companies, aggregators will really get into the detail of how to make carpooling an experience and enable much more nuanced matching. Corporations will have all kinds of subsidies and tax reductions and mandatory public transport usage policies in place for their employees, and increased R&D will be required to focus on India-specific alternatives to private vehicle use. The state will be required to do lots of things, including sanction more cycle parking, have discounted rates for students and others, more incentives in general for public transport usage. Some of us, including me, felt that policy level changes will be required, which might come through litigation for a genuine transition to occur. Laws in general will have to be implemented and enforced more strictly. This would include both penalties and fines and congestion fees, etc., in the central business districts. A lot more capacity, more coaches, more metros, more bus lines to make it more attractive as an option from the crowded scenario we are all used to. Overall improved environment with cleaner air and cleaner environment will encourage folks to walk and cycle. Heavy vehicles, especially those plying through the city, will be more strictly regulated. And finally, in general, education has a role to play for the transition. The need to introduce this as a subject at the school level, inculcate a sense of responsibility, and neighborhoods and cities that organize themselves and deliver winning solutions will actually inspire other neighborhoods and solutions to follow suit. So I think, yeah, the delightful part was we spent the last 3 or 4 minutes getting to know each other and chilling out. So that was a fun session all in all. Thank you.
Thanks, Abhiraj. Since in the interest of time, I'm not going to ask anyone else to contribute here. The one thought that that I kept coming back to when I was listening to you was this idea of energy justice, right? Which is that while we are transitioning from gasoline to electric vehicles, and especially say towards more public transport, can we sort of bring a justice angle to the distribution of energy and not just sustainability angle? I think that would be something to think through. And how, and again, going back to governance, how might that be done? I would love to continue that conversation. So we are now on I think the last group. I actually don't know what question it's addressing and what number it is, but I will let you clarify that for us. So whoever is the note taker from group X, X equals 4, X equals 3, I don't know what it is.
Group 4, is that, can I start?
Yes.
So we were, group 4, we were discussing about political economy and finance. And the question was, how will the political economy shift from roads for vehicles to streets for people? And how will this be financed? So we spent the initial part of our discussion talking about how Western countries have achieved streets for people. And some of the thoughts we had were about how since circular economy is in some sense prevalent, we should be using sustainable materials for construction, and how taxation of vehicles can be used to finance streets, especially with sense to entry restrictions. And also there was this idea that in Mumbai, I am guessing, please correct me if I'm wrong, that a day of the week is the roads are closed off to facilitate communities to use the space differently. And one of the main things that we were discussing is how we need a paradigm shift. If we need people-centric streets, we need people's sustained participation in maintaining those streets. And I don't want to go into details because I'm sure someone can from my team can explain it better. But in the general sense, we were talking about how culturally and in terms of governance, this can be achieved. We were wondering who we were building the roads for, if these roads would have equitable growth for all stakeholders, or if it would end up, in a sense, gentrifying neighborhoods. And when we were talking about culturally giving incentive for people to participate in maintaining these roads, one of the ideas was to use the roads in a different way. For example, in Church Street, there are artists who use the streets to sell their art, to play music, and for communities to collectivize in a particular place. And that was one. And in terms of governance, we were talking about how in Delhi, Mohalla Sabhas are in charge of certification of quality of roads, and how that incentivizes local participation in, and in a sense, they get the benefit of that. And this is also contradictory to how in certain countries almost 20% of the spending is controlled by town councils, whereas only 1.5% or thereabouts is in the control of municipal bodies in terms of expenditure. So we were talking also about how there is a need to decentralize power in order to achieve sustainable development of roads. People from my team, please do pitch in.
I'm going to step in only because we have one more group and we still have, and we are almost, in fact, we are out of time, but I hope you can stick for a few minutes. I do like this idea of decentralizing power in both senses of that term, and how those two decentralizations might go together. Something to keep thinking about. So thank you, Mira. And we'll go to group, I think, 2, which is 6.
Hey, that was me, Rajesh. 2 and 6. We are done.
Oh, we are all done. Okay, fantastic. So looks like nothing, no groups are left. Am I missing anybody? No?
Actually, I think I forgot a very important point that we discussed. So if I can just do one thing that we were talking about was how public transport needs to be focus, and how we were also discussing about how private interests might come into this scenario in terms of shared economies like Uber and Ola, but also talking about if there is a decrease in automobile industry's revenue, can that be supplemented by a growth in the public sector in terms of employment? And since it is just as capital intensive.
Yeah. I think livelihoods, I mean, given that India is adding millions of people into the job market every year, we'll have to think whether green and green in both senses of that term can go together. Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody. Lovely session. So many points. As usual, we are running out of time, but we do the final thing of turning on our videos, saying bye to each other, and we'll be back next week where we have a session on co-creation with Anand Kapoor.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Take care.
Bye.
Bye all.
Bye from cold Delhi.
Bye.
Bye-bye from Prakash.
Bye.